DJ Akademiks basically clowned the pioneers of hip-hop music. So I should be mad, right? I'm old school as well. I should be mad. No, I'm not mad. Hip-hop needs DJ Akademiks. It needs it. Hip-hop is underdog music. Underdogs thrive on challenges. Oh, well, there's some black guys from the Bronx stealing other people's music. That's not real music. It's a fad. It will be forgotten about in a few years. Opinions like that led to Stetsasonics, All That Jazz, where they responded to media and a lot of people, the jazz community apparently, saying that hip-hop wasn't real music, sampling was an uncreative process, etc., etc. And how they constructed the rhymes, the storytelling of that was very powerful. Very powerful.
Well, here's how it started. Heard you on the radio, talking about rap, saying all that about how we sample, giving examples. Think we'll let you get away with that? You criticize our method, or how we make records. You said it wasn't art, so now we're gonna rip you apart.
Stop, check it out, my man. This is the music of a hip-hop band. Jazz, well, you can call it that.
But this jazz retains a new format.
Point. When you misjudged us, speculated, created a fuss.
You've made the same mistake politicians have, talking all that jazz.
Hip-hop music has to be challenged. It has to be challenged before it really comes into its own. Yeah? If the artists were coming off a beach drinking funny coloured drinks with umbrellas in them, and let me cut the beat. Like, in the UK, we was introduced to serious rap by Flash, Melly Mel, Furious 5, The Message, depicting the harsh realities of life in New York. Melly Mel, Flash and the Furious 5 were challenged by their environment, the destitute and antiquated conditions of the Bronx to make the message. That's why it was so powerful. I know Duke Booty done most of the writing, but the point still remains. He was inspired by the conditions he experienced as a black man. Straight Outta Compton was powerful because it was based on the challenge of being a young person where police brutality was the norm, where gun violence, gang violence was the norm. Now we're hearing the N-word being said on record like it's nothing. And don't get it twisted, I used to have a lot of the block party tapes, and the N-word was said by some MCs, but not like how it was being used on N.W.A's LPs.
So what you gonna do, Dre? Kick it, and so on. Let the shit flow on, because I need something to go off on. The motherfucking DRE serving a death wish, so I'ma hit you like this. Early in the morning, hop into the B&Z. I got 44 ways of getting paid, sitting in my lap as I go up the Compton blocks. The scoop up rear and I heard shots. 1, 2, 3. Then I seen a nigga hop in the fence and it was written on the motherfucking trigger. He got in the Benz and said, Dre, I was speaking to your bitch, O'Shea. And as we roll on, I seen the patrol on creep. So we got ghosts before they beat me and Ren in a black CD. Yo, hold some funky shit by the DOC. I gotta get paid in a hurry. See, I gotta have it if I'm not paid thoroughly. I start taking, making sure my shit is steady bumping. A nigga always in the song. Fuck them motherfucking police, cause they swear that jet locked down in them.
That's the gangster rap genre. That replaced the Afrocentric genre, or should I say era, which was led by Public Enemy and BDP for the most part. That was very powerful. The black medallions, the whole mindset of the African ideology. But that has always been in reggae music, that black consciousness, that ideology of spiritualism based on or based around Africa. You see, that is inspired by the challenge of imperialism, colonialism, blatant racism.
Africa with your black relatives.
I'm mad as hell and I ain't gonna take no more.
This business of racism is not good.
be no peace without justice. I'm tired of my people treated unequal. That's why I'm facing. I gotta face this, so I speak out. And those who don't like it, they freak out. And they label me a racist. I'ma keep stalking me and brothers like Al Sharpton. We don't like what they did to Yusef Hawkins. Whilst the trial prolonged for so long, they shot him in cold blood. They knew they was dead wrong. Let a brother man shoot the other man. Nowadays they lock him up in a second and throw the key away. Hold up, you think I'll fold up? No, I'm peace. Without no justice, there'll be no peace.
No justice.
There will never be. Without
No justice.
there will never be.
Larkin Shabazz, one of the greatest, maybe not the most appreciated. That song is called No Justice, No Peace. Battle rap, that's a challenge. They're challenging your authenticity, your credibility as a rapper. Do you respond? How do you respond? Many dismiss the sound system, sound clash culture from Jamaica and what hip-hop inherited from that. Toasting. And, you know, your sound had to come ready. And even the rappers in the block party would tell you that a lot of crews came with a weak sound system and got buried. In Jamaica or in the UK, where sound system culture is massive, you've got to get your selection right, you've got to get your drops, your dub plates, and everything right, or they'll send you packing. They'll send you packing. And nobody will want to hear you again, unless you fix up real good. That's battle culture.
Our sound boy acting your own funeral. This is also a burial. Original Buju Banton on the bass. What the sound? Wanna hear me? Wanna hear me quick? Somebody go call the owner people. Quick! I jump and mustard in your people. Quick! Somebody go call the owner me. I want it quick! A old and mustard in ya. You hear me sound boy? Time is longer than rope. And tonight, we must cut your throat.
The Two Life Crew. I'm going to be honest, I don't like their music. Even till today, there's no nostalgia in it for me. I just never liked the Two Life Crew's music. But they became the most relevant hip-hop act in, I want to say, 1990, around that time, when their records were getting taken off the shelf because of the content, very sexually explicit. And that's not why I didn't like it. They were just whack. Sorry, they were whack. I just didn't like it. I never liked it. The only MC I heard at that time from Miami who had any skills was MC Shy D. Yeah. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
To let you know that I'm not blessing. I'm a certified rapper and my name is Shy D. I'm capable of taking out any MC. I'm fucking not checking with the weather.
Hey, listen, let's stay on point. Back to the Two Life Crew. Too much reminiscing. They're the reason why a lot of records, not just hip-hop music, started coming with parental advisory stickers. And it looked like the government, let's say, or the powers to be, were going to have their way. Yeah, the music is too obscene, but they were protected by their First Amendment rights in America. You guys know more about that than me. But I remember the case. And then they became a relevant group because they're not just standing up for your rights as a rapper. This is freedom of speech, freedom of communication, basically. There were people who hated hip-hop, but they knew they had to stand with the Two Life Crew because they saw what was going down. And that was a huge story. Huge.
Two Live Crew. Is this music obscene? A growing number of officials in Florida and other states are saying yes. Two members of the rap group Two Live Crew were arrested this week on obscenity charges following their live concert. A few days earlier, a judge ruled their album Nasty as They Want to Be obscene. And now record dealers who sell it could face arrest. One has already been arrested.
Now, DJ Akademiks, does he actually spin and cut records up? I don't know. Has he got any mixtapes? I don't know. I think he just seems to talk about current hip-hop topics, what the artists are getting into, which is quite a popular genre nowadays. Yeah, it's always been there. Like, you'd have people from Hot 97 and, was it Black Spot? I can't remember his name now. then have a satellite link with Westwood or 279, and then tell us what's going on with the rap artists, you know, what records they're putting out and what beefs they had, who's been arrested, who sold a lot of records, and the success stories as well. So you'd get gossip and information about what music is current, etc., etc. So it's always been there, but now there's just a genre for that alone, just for gossip. Whereas before, the priority for the DJ would be to get the relevant music of that era. Big up Sonia Poulton as well, Kiss FM, Max and Dave. Hip-hop cancelling Akademiks is a contradiction, because hip-hop has had many assassination attempts on it to cancel it. So if we're not going to let him have freedom of speech, when hip-hop was in the court fighting for freedom of speech, with the 2 Live Crew, with N.W.A, Ice-T's Cop Killer, and more. Not disrespecting any Jewish people, and no one's being disrespected. We're telling the history. We had powerful Jewish lobbies who put pressure on Def Jam, hence put pressure on Public Enemy to release Professor Griff because of his use of the word anti-Semitic. It's crazy. If hip-hop goes about cancelling people like Akademiks, telling whatever platform he's using or his sponsors and demand that we take his platform from him, that's conforming to what he was rebelling against at one time. That's what that is. DJ Akademiks needed to say what he said. Not that I agree with him. I don't like the way he said what he said, calling the pioneers dusty and dirty and that they have no money to show for what they claim they created, paraphrasing what he said. But it needed to be said because, well, now he's gave you a forum not only to reply to him, but to bring your experience and what it means to be a pioneer. Like I heard Russell Simmons not only replying to Akademiks, but dropping history. You see, he was at the block parties. He saw Grandmaster Flash, DJ Hollywood. He saw it firsthand. Created Rush Management, who held a few of these jams.
Because in the end, life only gives you a comfortable seat. And memories. And my memories of people like the great Grandmaster Flash and his rapper Melly Mel. Let me see. People in place the bass in your face. You're about to see first place in the rap race. The sounds you hear so good to ear. Have no fear. The great Grandmaster Flash is here. Introducing the disco dream on the mean machine. The Darth Vader on the slide Vader. No one can... Anyway, I can go on forever. Flash. My memories of him are greater than the yachts I got on. Are greater than the trips I took around the world. My memories of the culture exploding. DJ Hollywood. Right now, Mama in Your Neighborhood. Yes, once again, it's Hollywood. Watching that stuck in my memory today. I'm 65. Right now, I can remember those things a lot more vividly. They made a much greater impression on my heart than all of the stuff that I got. And in fact, I've abandoned most of the stuff because it doesn't make me happy. But my memories in hip-hop make me happy, and in fact, they give me a thankfulness, a gratefulness comes from the experiences that I had with these hip-hop artists. LL Cool J and Public Enemy and Slick Rick and De La Soul and Tribe Called Quest and Eric B. and Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and, you know, all of those artists who I worked with all the way up until Ludacris and Foxy Brown and, you know, all of that. I've seen all that shit, and I'm still here. And I guess I look good. I have this house I built here in Bali and this hotel next door. And I have a talent agency. In fact, I'm still making artist money because I said that the worth of a man's career is how many people have you made successful. We made hundreds of people, millionaires, many of them. Most of them, so many millionaires. Leo and Cohen, who runs YouTube, and Julie Greenwald, who's the most successful woman in the history of music business, and record label of the year every year, and record executive of the year, Kevin Lyle. These are people who came from the root, and my root is DJ Hollywood, Kool Herc, Eddie Chiba. So don't forget your roots, Akademiks. Is that how you pronounce it? Like the clothing brand? Stop it. Just, you know, pause and be grateful for those who came before you, who built your life. I
think what he said was horrible to hear it, yeah. But what happened to them artists who got screwed over with them initial rap contracts in hip-hop? And is Akademiks' attitude that alien to people of my age? Is it really that alien? Like LL, he responded to Akademiks. So did MC Shan. But I remember the community, the hip-hop community, laughing at MC Shan when KRS took him out in the battle, saying he was no longer relevant. Same with Busy B. When Kumo D took him out, LL responded. LL was signed to Def Jam. And I always talk about this when I talk about hip-hop. It's almost like Curtis Blow, Houdini, who were huge. They went out like the dinosaurs overnight when Def Jam and later Cold Chillin' started dominating. Because the music just changed. There was no live bands producing the records. Like sucker MCs just stripped down drums, Rock the Bell stripped down drums and a couple of cuts off the turntable. And that was that. And some scratching. And it was fresh. It was fresh. They started looping up James Brown on the SB12. And it was fresh. Run DMC started wearing leather jackets, trainers, dressing like street dudes from Queens, rather than the Parliament look that the Cold Crush brothers had and the other rap crews had. And it seemed like a lot of artists just became dated. And you know where I really saw that? It was when Run DMC battled Kumo D and Special K from the Treacherous Free. And it was on television. I don't know what the program was. It's on YouTube. From what I heard, Russell Simmons, who is DJ Run's elder brother, he runs Def Jam, Run is part of Run DMC. Russell didn't want them to battle the Treacherous Free and tried to call it off. So they made it a mock battle instead, so not to cancel it. Because you can't battle Special K and Kumo D. You get destroyed, right? I mean, they just destroy you. Kumo D was a rap machine. So basically, everybody just spit an 8-bar, and put on a show, no battle. But what stood out for me is how Kumo D and Special K were dressed. They look cool. I mean, everyone knows about the Modi shades, right? They had these spacey looking white boots on. Modi had this leather jacket on, which was cool. Run DMC had the fedora hats, the black leather jacket, and they always rocked the Adidas. It just looked real. It looked real. It looked more authentic. This looked like what a rapper should wear as opposed to what they were wearing. But hip-hop for a long time was trying to fix its wardrobe. And Run DMC, LL Cool J, and the era coming up, they changed the game in terms of fashion and clothing. And then to add to that, Modi, who worked a lot with Teddy Riley, his beats started to sound dated compared to what Rick Rubin was producing for Run DMC and LL Cool J. And then when the Bomb Squad came along for Public Enemy, it was just like... Tell me if I'm lying, right? When them rappers went to the wayside, what was the term? Yo, he fell off. There was a term for it. They don't do that in rock and roll. He fell off.
You know what you need to learn? Old school artists don't always burn. You're just another rapper who's had his turn. Now it's my turn.
And I'm concerned. This is what I'm saying, right? Let's not pretend that the pioneers were always revered. The new school cats couldn't wait to take them out. That's KRS-One. Them bars I just got there. That's from KRS-One, still number one. Out of all the music genres, which careers have the shortest career expectancy? Hip-hop. You see them rock and roll artists who was doing music before I was born, still touring today. And what goes around comes around. When Nelly was coming up, he had his battle with KRS-One. He said something like KRS should get a rapper's pension. That's what he said on the remix of Rotten the Mic with Siegel and Freeway. It's a different debate for another video on who created, who are the real pioneers who were there from the dirt. But Kool Herc's name comes up a lot. Sedgwick Avenue. I'm not going to go into the whole history, but that was a pivotal jam. When he was ill a few years back, where were all these labels who've made millions from hip-hop and all these artists who made millions? Like, he was struggling to pay his medical bills. So let's not pretend that hip-hop has always treated its pioneers like royalty, because they haven't. And we're talking about a genre that has turned over billions of dollars. Now, I've done some research on it just now, like Black Rob, Tony Touch, Just Blaze, and others. They came out and it raised $1,000 and that covered some of it, I'm guessing, but he's still alive, so it got covered. But the fact that guys like Herc and other pioneers and originators have to go abroad to make money, to showcase their skills so they can get paid, while you get academics like doing shock jock content, not covering old school content, not covering any real hip-hop. And when I say hip-hop, I'm talking about all the elements: breakdancing, graffiti, turntablism, not just rap. DJ Vlad bringing up old beefs that should have died out in the 90s and shit. See people getting mad talking about who shot Biggie and who shot Tupac and what gang and this, that and that. Blood money. But look, I'm not here to have a go at Vlad or Akademiks. They have their lane. The truth is, a lot of the old school heads, they don't want to build platforms. You can build platforms nowadays. It's pretty easy. You don't have to wait for someone to call you up on Hot 97 or Power, waiting for MTV or BET to give you your flowers, is the phrase they like to use a lot. You can just build your platform and say what you have to say. Perform your art. Put some young cats on, whatever you're going to do. Let us know what it was like. What were the formative years like? You can't walk away from what you started and complain when the new era cats come in and start doing fuckery, because you left a big gap there. At least Akademiks brought some of the old school cats out of the woodwork, and now they're going to disappear for another 5 years until the next cat who replaces Akademiks says something dumb about the pioneers and old school rap.
No, when we drop this one, you'll understand.
Drinks Champs, Joe Budden podcast. That's the new thing now. The podcasters, Doggy Diamonds, Mano. Fat Joe was doing it for a little while. I think he still is, actually. Now, the Drink Champs, okay, some of the alcohol is a little excessive, but they give the old school their flowers. So they're not doing what Akademiks is doing. And I'm sure they don't approve of what he was saying. Like Joe Budden, he does a podcast. I don't know what his take on what Akademiks is doing. I know he's cool with Akademiks. I remember one time when Budden used to rap, he was talking about how he was better than Melly Mel and Method Man. Now, that's his opinion, but to say you're better than someone who pioneered the genre that you're making money from, it's hard for old heads who listen to rap for a long time to take that in and accept that. That was disrespectful. But you could take it as a challenge, Budden saying that, from one MC to another. The Method Man comment got him into a little situation as well. We won't go into it. But yeah, Akademiks has got you triggered, but then again, Kanye's got people triggered with Candace Owens and the White Lives Matter t-shirts. People get triggered. But do they get triggered by the right thing? Or things? Plural. So what happened to all them dusty, dirty artists that Akademiks was talking about? How come they ain't got no money? That's what we should be discussing, not one individual. What happened to their money? What happened to their labels? What about the distributors who took their music out of the country and sold it on compilations? Sometimes you buy the magazine and you get a CD with it, and you're getting music that you've never heard before. Well, whose music is that? Do they know it's on here? Probably not. Some old school cat listening to the radio hears something that he said years back. Well, I originated that. How is everybody talking about this record that's making somebody money? How did they get it? Well, you left demos in the studio. Have you got a copyright to say you originated it? No. Well, you're fucked. What about that kid who's got the nice SB1200 MPC game, who left his beat in the studio? Hey, that's my joint. I made that. Banging on the radio, the latest hot kid on the block is spitting on my beat. Really? Your beat? Prove it. Music industry's dirty. Probably worse than boxing. Fat Joe, he responded to Akademiks. He didn't curse him out or anything. But yo, go check the way he got that song. I'm all the way up. Go check the backstory. I don't care how up in arms you are. The challenge is to get anybody, no matter how talented you are, rapping, singing. No one's going to check for your raps if they're not bringing no financial reward. Nobody. You haven't got the mansion, the cars. Who's going to check for your music? I'm talking about in volume, in mass. Not you as an individual, I don't care about that. I'm talking about to the point of platinum and diamond sales, milestones like that. That's what I'm talking about. So when Akademiks is basically not respecting them because they can't show the fruits of their labor. He's not the only one who looks at it like that. He isn't. And anyone who pretends that he is a fucking liar. There was a time, but we're going back to the 90s and 80s, where platinum and gold didn't really matter for you to be an authentic artist. That's when distinctions were made between underground and commercial though. And some artists weren't even trying to go commercial. Selling a lot of records was almost a dirty concept, that you must be selling out to make all them sales. Today, you don't get that. You don't have that today. Like Game put out a mixtape or an LP the other day, and he dissed Eminem, and all they kept talking about was his numbers, the numbers he did. It didn't do big numbers on whatever streaming site. So it flopped. They weren't talking about, oh, I like that track or that track. Nah, it flopped monetarily, and that's that. But I remember reading an article about Def Jam, and it was showing the sales that all their artists did. And you know, Public Enemy never went platinum on Def Jam, or I don't think none of their albums have ever went platinum. But back in the day, if you was to play a game of word association and say, when I say Def Jam, name an artist, most people would name Public Enemy. Even though LL was selling more records, they'd name Public Enemy because they were so striking with Flavor Flav on there and the S1Ws and Terminator X the Giant, and just visually, let alone the music, Public Enemy were like the epitome of Def Jam. Even though they didn't sell a lot, they done good numbers. But there was a lot of artists on Def Jam who did bigger numbers. I was shocked to see it at the time. I wouldn't be shocked, however, over the years if I was to look at their sales and they haven't got platinum and diamond records now, because they've appreciated as a group. And the reason they've been able to do that is they were looking at it past mechanical royalties. They stamped them passports. They toured so many different countries. Public Enemy still release music today. In the 90s, Public Enemy were talking about the internet and telling us a lot of things that are going to occur. They had an internet label. Was it Slam Jams? Years back. I haven't got a timeline on all of it. And Chuck was telling us a lot of things that were going to happen in terms of the music industry, and he was right. See, and that's the thing with Chuck D. Like, he's always kept doing his music, and he's always put the new cats on. He has a rap show called And You Don't Stop on Mixcloud, where he uploads regular, puts on the old school. I'm looking at the latest list here. I'm looking at Dan the Automator. I haven't heard that name in years. Lyrics Born, haven't heard that name in a long while. Black Star, and obviously there's new artists here. Mr. Rozzy, he might be new, he might just be someone I've never heard of. Artists you've never heard, you hear on there. UK rappers from all different countries. Chuck's even got some of his new material on there with other artists. They've got some of Chuck's stuff on there with Chris Payne, Biggie stuff. Coolio just passed away recently. Busta Rhymes, Ill, Al Scratch. So he's representing old school and the new talent. He's not there, oh, well, they don't want to hear what I've got to say because I'm an old guy. He's consistent. He has been since the 80s. Stays on the grind. You think he cares about what Akademiks says? No. Akademiks is a shock jock. Yes. But at the same time, nobody wants to hear the old guy talking about how great he was with the ladies back in the day, and now he hasn't got shit. Nobody wants to hear how good he was with the bars back then, and now he's got nothing to show for it. Do you think Akademiks invented this mentality? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Cut the beat off. Rap culture had a tendency to pump materialism and excess. The more you have, the more successful you are. The percentage of lyrical content from rappers is about all what they have and all what their rivals don't have. It's not just a hip-hop thing, it's a life thing. The press, media and public gravitate towards financial success. The press love a rags to riches tale, and they love a rags to riches back to rags tale even more. Remember Rosenberg, Hot 97, said Chuck D was irrelevant, and then he was quickly made to apologize. I don't think he realized how deep he was getting in. Ebro, I've heard him say several rappers are irrelevant. He used to use that word quite a lot. A lot of the podcasters will talk about that, about rappers being irrelevant and who's current right now. You don't really get that in much other genres. You don't. So, as distasteful as Akademiks an individual is he much different from a lot of people in hip-hop? Maybe even yourself. Just got a foul mouth.